Hi, everyone. Just a heads up that we've got a couple of commissioners still on their way back from a site visit, so we'll get started here shortly once they arrive. Commissioner Lehman, we're still waiting on Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Bolton is here. So once Commissioner Locke arrives, then you'll have the quorum that we're going to have for the moment. Commissioner Delves will be joining us a little bit later. I see a cell phone ending in 047. Is that you, Commissioner Delves?
Yeah, it is. So I'm on the phone at this point, but I thought I'd be there for the roll call.
Oh, great. Thank you. I will go ahead and rename you so we know who you are.
And then I'll go back on mute until the roll call.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Just a reminder for those that maybe have just joined us, we're just waiting for Commissioner Locke to join us. We went a little bit longer on our site visit today, so she will be here momentarily, and then we can get the meeting started. So thank you all for your patience. All right, I see that Commissioner Locke has joined us. Super. Okay, Madam Chair, Commissioner Lehman, you now have a quorum. You have Commissioners Locke, Bolton, Commissioner Delves is joining us by phone already, and then yourself. We do have our regular chair, Chair LePage, absent, but since you are the Vice Chair, Commissioner Lehman, you'll be acting as chair this evening.
So we're all here. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So good evening, everyone, or afternoon. I'd like to call together, call to order the meeting, the Planning Commission meeting of September 8th, 2021. And can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Bolton?
Here.
Commissioner Delves?
Commissioner Delves will be joining us shortly.
He's online.
Oh, he is. Good.
Yeah, Commissioner Delves, I believe it's *6 to unmute yourself on your cell phone. I'll circle back around. Commissioner Lehman?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Present.
And Chair LePage is absent. Commissioner Delves, can you hear us?
We can go ahead and continue, and then we'll just note the record when he's able to join, because we do have a quorum.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Brandon. Can we start with the consent agenda, please?
I'm sorry. Hey, Commissioner Delves is here. I'm sorry. A little technical error. Thanks.
There we go. We'll note the record. Thank you, Commissioner Delves.
Thank you. So I'd like to discuss the extraordinary business. We have a proclamation recognizing May 2nd to 8th, 2021 as Municipal Clerks Week. And another proclamation recognizing May 16th to 22nd, 2021 as National Public Works Week, Stronger Together.
Madam Chair, if I could, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Which agenda are you looking at right now? You might be looking at an agenda from a previous meeting.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm looking at May. Yeah, this was an upgraded to May. I don't know how we got that one.
So the first, I can just help you out here. So the first order of business for you, we've done call to order and roll, Carl. Next up for you would be public appearances. That would be members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of not on the public agenda.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, but I can't locate that agenda.
It's okay. I can help you. I'll feed you the items, and you can still run the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you want to call for public appearances for items not on the agenda, that would be great.
Yes. So I will call for public appearances. Thank you for items not on the agenda.
For anyone joining us on Zoom, if you want to raise your hand, it's in the reactions tab at the bottom of your screen. You can click on that, it'll raise your hand. Or if you're on your phone, *9 will raise your hand. Or if you can't get to that, just go ahead and unmute yourself by clicking the mute button on the bottom left or *6 on your phone if you'd like to make a comment. Looks like we do have one, Madam Chair, a cell phone ending in 258. Go ahead and unmute yourself, cell phone ending in 258, and you can go ahead and speak.
Good afternoon, Michael McWelter, Scenic, 2 north of 11th. I have not seen the agenda, so this item's on the agenda. Just tell me that it's on the agenda, and I'll be quiet. It's regarding the wireless pole on Carmelo and 8th. Does that happen to be on the agenda today?
No, I can respond to you, and thank you, Director, for helping me out, but I have located the right months now. That will be on our, we're having a special meeting on September 29th, and it will be posted, and the agenda will be available, but it is specifically for the Verizon project.
Okay, so it's not on today's agenda?
No, it is not on today's agenda.
So may I say a few words, please?
Yes, of course.
There was a historic ruling on August the 13th regarding the Environmental Health Trust versus the Federal Communications Commission. And the Court of Appeals, which is the second highest court in the land, found that the Federal Communications Commission, which oversees all the wireless companies, they violated the Administrative Procedure Act. And they did not update its 1996 exposure limits. They failed to address the impact of long-term exposure, failed to address unique impacts to children, failed to address the testimony of radiation, failed to address impacts to wildlife and the environment, and failed to address impacts to the developing brain and reproduction. The court remanded the issue back to the FCC for reasoned decision-making on numerous issues. The court specifically ordered the FCC to do the following: provide a explanation for its decision to retain its testing procedures for determining comply with its guidelines, address the impacts of radio frequency radio wireless.
We're having a hard time with your
So I'm going to
connection.
wind it up. I thought I got 3 minutes. Do I have 3 minutes?
Yes, but
Please.
you've almost,
I'm about to wind it up.
great.
I haven't used my 3 minutes yet. Please. So in light of this historic landmark case against the FCC, that wireless facility that Verizon wants to put in on Carmelo and 8th, it should be tabled till the FCC updates its radiation guidelines. Because there are a lot of people that have been injured by radiation that are under the radiation guidelines. So let's protect all the folks that live on Carmelo and 8th, San Antonio and 8th, Camino Real and 8th, all those people down there. We want to protect them until the FCC issues its updated guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope you will be with us on the 29th of September to present this information. Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, it looks like at this point we don't have any additional hands raised or anyone else trying to unmute themselves. So I think you can move forward from public appearances.
Okay. Can we, are there any announcements? If none, we can move to the consent agenda, which the first item is the minutes of the August 11th, 2020 regular meeting. And next is the monthly CPB permit report. And then the Westbrook project, DS 21-196, consideration of a track 1 design study referral for changes to the approved roof material for a residence located on Lincoln Street, 4 southwest of 9th in the single family zoning district. And it is not eligible, it is exempt from CEQA. Are there any comments on this? Thank you. Commissioner Locke.
Yes, I'd like to pull item 3 for separate action, and then I would move approval of the remainder of the consent calendar.
Oh, thank you. Can I get a second for
I
Commissioner
can
Locke?
think of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, this is items on 1 and 2 of the consent agenda.
Yes.
Commissioner Bolton,
Yes.
Commissioner Delves,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
Chair Lehman.
Yes. Okay. Do we need, can we get Commissioner Locke, would you discuss the Westbrook project that you'd like pulled?
Yeah, I just wanted to pull it because I thought that it was a little more than just the regular consent items. And Brandon, I thought I heard you say something about that we needed some discussion on it.
You're correct, Commissioner Locke. Thank you. If you hadn't pulled it, staff would have, because we did want to make a clarification. So I'll turn it over to Marnie Waffle. It's just a minor clarification, but it was important, just given the history on this project. We wanted to make sure that the commission was aware. Go ahead, Marnie.
Thank you. So the Westbrook project is back before the Planning Commission this afternoon for approval of the roof material. The staff report had indicated that the proposed composition shingle was Presidential Shake TL for triple layer. The architect has clarified that due to the slope of the roof being relatively flat, the triple layer would not work for this residence. So they are proposing just the standard Presidential Shake composition shingle. So I did want to bring that to the Commission's attention before action was taken on this item this afternoon. Also, just a point of clarification, staff did include a full set of plans as an attachment to the staff report. Those plans are for reference only. The Planning Commission is not approving in whole or in part those plans this evening. They're just simply for reference as you review the roof material for this project. And that concludes my comments. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Marnie. Are there any comments? Can I have a motion then for approval?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interject. You may want to open for public
Oh,
comment.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. Are there any comments from the public?
Yes, this is Al Saroyan representing the Westbrooks. And I just wanted to clarify, when I saw the staff report and it referred to TL, the sample that we submitted to the city was presidential, not TL. They're essentially the same product, it's just that the TL is a thicker product, and the manufacturer is concerned about that product working on 2 and 12 pitch. So it's the same color, same product. It's just that we want to use the presidential, straight presidential, not the TL.
Thank you, Mr. Saroyan. Are there any other comments from the public? Then we can close the public hearing and go back to the commissioners. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
No, but I'd move approval of item number 3.
Thank you. Can we have a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Thank you. And can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Bolton,
Yes.
Commissioner Delves,
Yes.
Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
and Chair Lehman.
Yes. Thank you. Our next order of business is a consideration of an amendment to the Planning Commission adopted rules of procedure related to the tour of inspection.
Madam Chair, thank you. I wanted to offer up, you have a bit of a unique procedural issue tonight, and just looking at the time. So for those that aren't aware, Commissioner Delve was originally set to be on vacation. We're going to have 3 members of the commission tonight as a quorum. Our rules of procedure existing are such that 4 members of the commission have to be present to consider a use permit. And if you look at your agenda, item 6 includes a use permit. We have Commissioner Delves. He was kind enough on his time off to join us via phone, and may be joining via Zoom shortly when he gets where he's going. However, we only have him until 6 o'clock. So it's at your discretion as the chair to move agenda items. They were all agendized for 4 o'clock. You may want to consider moving item 6 up and taking that now, since we effectively have an hour and a half of his time. And I don't know certainly how long that item 4, the consideration of the Planning Commission adopted rules of procedure, would take. Of course, if the commission thought that's only going to take 5 minutes or so, we can do that. But if you wanted to be completely safe, you could move up the use permit item and take that now, and then continue back with the regular agenda schedule after that item back to number 4 to take on orders of business. But I'll leave that up to your discretion.
Well, thank you. I am fine with moving up item 6. And if there are any objections from any of the other commissioners, but if so, we'd like to discuss DR 21-170 and UP 21-171, the Carmel Beach Hotel and Spa. And can we get a presentation?
Yeah, Madam Chair, you certainly don't have to, but I would also recommend just quickly asking the public if there's any issues from the public, just opening it briefly on the agenda change to the public and see if there's any public comment on the agenda change. You don't have to you accept any changes from the public, but sometimes it's nice to see if there's any real issues.
Of course. I'm assuming that everyone that, I don't see any hands. And so is there anyone from the public that would like to discuss this? Now, we're not talking about the project, but we're just talking about the change in scheduling to move this before item 4 and 5, so that we can get a proper quorum on the use permit.
Madam Chair, I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand or unmuting at the moment, so I think you're safe. that's a good, safe way to take that. So
Okay.
if you're ready, if the commission's ready, we can proceed with staff presentation. I'll turn it over to Marnie Waffle.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. Bear with me just one moment. Okay, before you this afternoon is a combined design review and use permit applications for the Carmel Beach Hotel and Spa. This is formerly known as the Colonial Terrace Inn. The project is located on San Antonio at 13th. So the Colonial Terrace Inn was constructed between 1930 and 1955. It consists of 7 buildings, which are labeled A through G. The hotel is listed as a local historic resource, and it was added to the local inventory in 2005. Buildings F and G are not part of the historic fabric, and that's only significant in that it's not held to the same modification standards as the rest of the hotel. It is of relatively low significance for this project because the applicant's proposal is really to create a cohesive hotel that has consistent colors, materials, and finishes throughout. So the project includes a rebranding of the Colonial Terrace Inn. It would be renamed the Carmel Beach Hotel and Spa. It includes an extensive interior renovation of all the rooms. It includes accessibility upgrades, including creating accessible hotel rooms. It also includes adding amenities for hotel guests, which includes spa services, a fitness center, and the service of alcohol, again, for guests only of the hotel. The project also includes a proposal for valet parking. Some of the exterior modifications that are proposed as part of this renovation include replacing all of the windows and doors. Currently, they consist of a variety of different materials. So this remodel would create some cohesion with a consistent material throughout. It also includes some minor window and door modifications that we'll go through in just a moment. An extension of one of the existing balconies, repainting of all the buildings, some site accessibility upgrades, and this is to create accessible paths of travel to the new accessible hotel rooms, as well as some additional landscape modifications. So to orient you to the project, this is the existing site plan. At the bottom of the screen is 13th Avenue, and the hotel is between San Antonio, which is on the left, and Carmelo Street, which is on the right. You can see highlighted in green are the buildings that have been designated as part of the historic fabric, and that's buildings A through E. Buildings F and G to the south are not part of the historic fabric, but are certainly part of the project as a whole and the renovations. So this graphic shows both the accessibility upgrades as well as the proposed amenities. And I do apologize, it's a little bit blurry, but the areas that you see shaded in red are the locations of the new accessible hotel rooms. The dotted blue line that you see throughout are the accessible paths of travel. And these are the areas that will require some of the existing brickwork to be relayed in order to just create that safe path of travel at the proper slope for accessibility. The areas that you see in the tan brown color are locations of site amenities, and these include just outdoor spaces, patios, outdoor seating, And we'll go into a little bit more detail. Also, the location of the fitness center and the spa services. So starting with building A, I'm just going to go through really quick building by building to show you the modifications. They are pretty minor. So on building A, just a minor addition of a shutter. You can see the existing conditions on top, the proposed conditions here on the bottom. I highlighted the changes. They're bordered in red. And then the balcony extension that I had mentioned on building A. So this will require removing some existing windows, changing a window to a door to facilitate that balcony extension. There are no changes proposed to building B. On building C, the modification is removing an existing window and a door, and then just kind of filling in that space and matching the existing siding. Building D, this is the location of the lobby. This is, if you're familiar with the site, this is the round building that faces San Antonio and has some stained glass windows in it. There are no changes proposed to the openings on this building. However, the windows and doors are proposed to be replaced with the exception of the stained glass windows, which will remain. On building E, which also fronts on San Antonio, there are some existing garage doors that are solid wood. These doors would be replaced with windows. This is the location of the proposed fitness room for guests of the hotel. And then another minor modification, removing 2 windows and adding a door that you can see there in the middle. This is the floor plan for the proposed fitness center in building E. It's approximately 800 square feet in size, and it also includes an accessible restroom. So this is the floor plan for buildings F and G, which again are on the south end of the hotel, closer to 13th. Building F and G would be connected by what we're calling is a hyphen, which is essentially a hallway. And this space would be converted into spa services. So starting on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see there's a relaxation room, there's a reception area, and then on the left-hand side, there are 2 treatment rooms proposed along with a restroom. So the existing hotel is governed by a use permit that was approved by resolution number 620 in 1968 by the Board of Adjustments. That use permit allows for 26 hotel rooms. Currently, there are 28 rooms on site. The applicant is going to be reconfiguring the rooms in building A to reduce that total down to 26, consistent with the use permit. And before the commission this afternoon is the use permit amendment to include some of these additional indoor and outdoor amenities that are proposed throughout the property. So in considering the use permit amendment, there are specific findings that the Planning Commission must make. These findings include that all structures are compatible with the residential character of the neighborhood. As you just saw, kind of going through the changes with each of the buildings, there are not substantial changes to the existing structures themselves. And so staff finds that the hotel structures continue to remain compatible with the residential character of the neighborhood. The second finding is that the total site coverage shall not exceed 35%. This refers actually to the building footprint areas. This is a standard that we no longer use, but the project does not change the existing conditions in this regard. So staff finds the project consistent with this finding. There is no increase in floor area proposed as part of the project. and there's no change to setbacks or heights of any of the buildings. So the project also requires a design review permit for all the exterior modifications. Because the hotel is located in the R1 single family residential zoning district, it is subject to the residential design guidelines. And a couple of these guidelines that are most applicable include forest character, parking and access, right-of-way character, and then I'm also going to talk about the finished details, exterior lighting, and landscaping. So with respect to forest character, our city forester did visit the site and identified 5 upper canopy trees, 5 lower canopy trees, and 5 palm trees on the property. The project was referred to the Forest and Beach Commission, and the commission reviewed it at their July 8th meeting for the purpose of determining how many total upper and lower canopy trees should be on the property. The commission determined there should be 11 upper and 8 lower based on the size of the hotel property in its totality. And the project is proposing 11 upper canopy trees and 12 lower canopy trees. So staff finds that the project is consistent with forest character. With respect to parking and access, the current use permit requires that there be 23 parking spaces. The hotel is currently non-conforming in that it only provides 20 spaces. These spaces are provided both along Carmelo Street as well as along San Antonio. And there are a couple spaces that are on site near between buildings A and D. So the applicant is proposing 3 new parking spaces along San Antonio. And those are the 3 spaces where you see the 3 blue arrows kind of pointing. There's 3 new spaces proposed in that area. Also, the applicant is providing ADA parking. So there'll be 1 space on Carmelo, 1 space on San Antonio. This does require that 2 existing parking spaces be converted to loading zones for those accessible spaces, and so those parking spaces are proposed to be replaced. Additionally, the applicant is proposing a valet parking program, and that would allow for the 2 on-site spaces to be used for valet parking that can accommodate up to 7 vehicles. So in total, the project proposes to provide 28 spaces, which exceeds what is required under their use permit. With respect to right-of-way character, very few changes are proposed along the Carmelo frontage. Primarily, it's just the creation of the accessible parking space. On the San Antonio frontage, the right-of-way character is mostly landscaped, as well as asphalt parking. This photograph here shows the location approximately of where the 3 new parking spaces are proposed. This would require some additional walls to support the grade, which requires an encroachment permit. And so that will be a follow-up action if these parking spaces are approved in this location. So with respect to finished details, again, all the windows and doors are proposed to be replaced with aluminum clad wood. They will be double glazed for energy efficiency. And all the windows will contain simulated divided lights. The style and the pattern will match existing conditions. The applicant is also proposing to paint the hotel, and he would like to take it back to its original color. This is going to require a little bit of exploration to be done, so we don't have a color scheme to present to the commission. But staff is happy to work with the applicant. And if it's also the commission's desire, we can bring that color scheme back to you once it has been determined. But the goal is to bring it back to a more historical color scheme. So the project also includes lighting throughout the property. Here are a sampling of, I think, most of the fixtures that are proposed. Starting on the left, there's an example of a wall-mounted fixture. Fixture S2 is a post-mounted fixture that would be located throughout the property, and then a variety of pathway and step lighting for safety. The project is required to adhere to the residential design guidelines, so each fixture is limited to the 25 watts or 375 lumens per fixture. A couple of the fixtures will need to be modified to meet those lumen levels. Also, there's a number of fixtures that have been identified that need to be removed from the plans, and that is addressed in condition of approval number 37. And this is primarily due to lighting proposed for a wall along Carmelo that cannot be installed. So those light fixtures will need to be removed from the plans. The project also includes an extensive re-landscaping of the site. The city forester has reviewed the preliminary landscape plan. She did provide one initial comment regarding the camellias. She's indicated that these are a host plant for I think it's the sudden oak death pathogen. So she is discouraging the use of camellias in order to preserve the oaks throughout the area, and that's been included in condition of approval number 36. There is a standard condition requiring that the final landscape plan be submitted both to the city forester as well to the water district for final review and approval. Additionally, the project includes a replacement of some of the brick pathways. The applicant will be preserving as much of that flat work as possible, and that will be in accordance with the recommendations from the Historic Resources Board. Any brick that does need to be replaced to create accessible walkways will be replaced in kind to match the character of the existing bricks. Also worth noting is there are some existing lawn areas which are a high water use landscape material, and those areas are proposed to be replaced with artificial turf. So the project was reviewed by the Historic Resources Board because it is a historic resource. And the board's charge was to review the modifications to make sure that they were consistent with the Secretary's standards for the treatment of historic properties. The Historic Resources Board developed or adopted a number of conditions of approval for the Planning Commission's consideration to ensure that the modifications retain the historic character of the hotel. Many of these the applicant has already addressed through revisions to the plans and making notes on the plans. However, they have also been incorporated as conditions of approval to ensure that they are carried throughout completion of the project. And some of these include just repainting guidelines, so using methods that are gentle so as not to damage the historic materials on the buildings, patching and matching existing wall cladding, matching existing window sash and pane configurations, preserving the garage door openings along San Antonio. There's also an existing picket fence and gate along Carmelo, which has been deemed to be part of the historic fabric, and so that fence will be retained and preserved. Any new Carmel stone walls that are constructed as part of the project will have a mortar color that differentiates it from the older, more historical walls. So again, a lot of these things have already been incorporated into the plans, but are also included as conditions of approval. So staff did receive some public comments on the project in advance of the meeting. And so I'm going to summarize these comments. They were emailed to the commission. It would be a little bit lengthy to read them all into the record. So I will summarize kind of the common themes throughout, which are primarily noise and traffic from the additional amenity space. So the spa services and the fitness room. There is concern that has been expressed by a number of the neighbors regarding these additional amenities generating these impacts in what is otherwise a pretty quiet part of town. There was also some concern raised about how the hotel will monitor and make sure that these services are only being used by hotel guests and not the general public. A couple of concerns were raised regarding an outdoor bar with fire pit seating. I think this may have been maybe a miscommunication. The applicant is proposing to, serve alcohol to guests of the hotel, but there's not a proposal for an outdoor bar per se. There are some additional fire pit seating areas, one located sort of at the north side of the property along San Antonio, and then one at the south. So some additional sort of outdoor gathering opportunities. The neighbors are concerned that this could, increase noise in the area. The project also includes a new pizza oven, and the pizza oven would actually be located kind of internal to the site, but there are some residential homes that do back up to it from the Carmelo side. So some concerns there over smoke from the pizza oven, also the creation of a restaurant atmosphere, and again, just the additional activity and the potential for impacts from that. So some of the recommendations from the neighbors, they were hoping to see maybe some of the more high foot traffic areas be placed internal to the site, so not fronting on San Antonio. And then also looking for a plan for the construction to mitigate construction impacts. So, how will the applicant manage vehicles, equipment, noise, and dust throughout the duration of the construction on the project? So that is a summary of the comments that we received in advance of the meeting. And so with that, staff's recommendation is that the commission adopt a resolution approving the project. There are a number of special conditions, and of course, as the commission knows, you can add or modify those conditions accordingly. Staff is available to answer any questions. The applicant is available as well. I believe David Fink is on the line, as well as his architect, WRD, Matthew Heidel. And the landscape architect is also on the line with us as well and can answer any specific questions you have regarding the landscaping. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, if you're speaking, you may be muted.
Okay, I'm back. Marnie, I want to thank you for the enormous amount of work that went into preparing this presentation. It was wonderful. Are there any people in the public that would like to speak to this at this time? I gather there are some representatives of
Madam Chair, if I could just suggest maybe going to the commissioners first to see if there's any questions of staff before going out to the public.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, Commissioner Bolton, do you have any questions of staff at this time?
No, thank you very much.
Commissioner Locke, do you have any questions of staff at this time? You're muted.
I know. Sorry, I have that on, so I was trying to turn it off real quick. It's hot back here. So I have two questions. First one is there any restriction on decorative string lights for non-residential properties? And that just as a question on the plans, they called for some string lights in the back, and I thought we had certain times of the year that you could do certain things. Okay, so that's number one. The second question is, if this business, this motel, wanted to put a barbecue on their back patio, would they be required to get a permit from the city? Those are my two questions.
Marnie, would you like to respond to that?
Sure. So, this project is unique in that it's a commercial use in a residential area, but the zoning code is very clear that the hotels hotels in the R1 district are subject to the R1 standards. So in reviewing the project, staff is looking at the residential design guidelines as the basis for our review. There is nothing that I am aware of in the residential design guidelines that would prohibit someone or a typical residential property from installing string lights. However, that being said, generally, it's acceptable if they are internal to the site, and that's what we would encourage as part of this project, because it is a commercial use, that the use of any string lights be internal where they're not seen from the public way. With respect to the barbecue, it's going to depend on whether it is portable or permanent as to whether or not it requires a building permit. I think one of the things that we want to look at this afternoon is sort of the outdoor patio areas and whether the size and extent of those areas is appropriate for that type of use. And I think I'll stop there.
But a portable, we wouldn't have anything to do with any kind of a portable situation.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Delves, do you have any questions of staff at this time? Oh, I think you're muted.
Thank you for your patience. I do not have any other questions.
Commissioner Bolton?
You already heard me, but I'm good for the moment.
Okay, thank you. And I do have one small one. Is it possible to vote on the design and the use permit separately?
I think so. The action has come forward. I guess it kind of would depend on where the commission would go. I would recommend against it, just since the whole action is coming under one item. You could certainly approve the design, but not components of the use permit. You could technically take a different action on the use permit if you wanted to. I just wouldn't break them up into separate discussions. I would make it all part of one discussion. But you can, yes, the commission could decide to approve the design and not the use permit, or modify elements of the use permit the commission didn't feel were appropriate as well. Okay, thank you. And Marnie, just one other question. You said around the fire pit and where the pizza oven is that they would be, the inn would be serving alcohol to the guests. And I'm wondering if it's serving and selling or just serving.
So I'm going to defer to the applicant. At this time, they have not made any representations about outdoor service of alcohol. They have communicated that they would like to be able to serve alcohol to their guests And so I think I'd like to defer to them to kind of elaborate a little bit more on what they envision that service being.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Lehman, let me just kind of tear off of what Marnie just gave you. So at the end of the day, I think this goes along with the question you were asking. If the commission, has certain preference for where alcohol is served, you can condition the project as such. So the use permit could say, alcohol can only be served indoors. Of course, any decision that the Planning Commission makes is appealable to the City Council, but the commission can craft conditions coming out of this meeting based on what we hear from the applicant.
Sure. Where I'm coming from is that I know there are many inns in town and anywhere in the country where there is some wine served in rooms or to people or in a lobby but it's not a bar. And when we talk about a bar, then we're talking about a liquor license or a wine and beer license. And I don't think that's happening with this application. So that is something I would like to know about. But that's about all I have right now. We can open this to the public.
Madam Chair, I would suggest we go to the applicant first and let them speak first. And then typically what we do is the applicant will speak first.
Okay.
And then we do public comment, and they retain some time at the end for rebuttal if they'd like to speak to anything that's heard during the public comment.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we have several people representing this project, and is there someone who would like to speak first?
Hi, Madam Chair. It's David Fink. For some reason, my video is not working, Brandon, but I don't know if people want to see me or not.
I think we're okay, David. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. Great. Good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. David Fink here. I'm the owner of the business, which is now Colonial Terrace, but will be Carmel Beach Hotel and Spa. I've been in the planning process in Carmel now for more than 20 years, with my first business being Boucher, and right after that, L'Auberge Carmel and Cantonetta Lucas, La Maria Luca. And I just want to thank Marnie and Brandon because, I've worked with a lot of the planning directors here and staff, and it's just been, I just want to say it's been a delight working with you both. And I really appreciate it because some of my projects have been difficult, and you've made it very, very easy to work with. So thank you very much. Commissioners, as Marnie recapped, we had a 5-0 vote last month on our plan from the HRB. We've had a great report from the Forest and Beach Commission. We've put an amazing design team together to restore this historic jewel, including Michael Suter, who I've worked with for the last 30 years, one of the most famous lighting designers in America. That the most famous project here locally is the Highlands Inn when it opened in 1983. Michael is a world-class lighting designer, and Mike Arnone, a wonderful landscape architect that has worked extensively in Carmel. WRD Architects, Henry Runke and Matt Heidel. They're a great local firm, and they have a ton of experience in historic restoration. And Osonio Construction, a commercial contractor on the Monterey Peninsula since, I think, 1956. I'm the proprietor of L'Auberge Carmel and Aubergine Restaurant. And as you may know, L'Auberge is one of only 7 Forbes 4-star hotels in our area, including the Lodge at Pebble Beach, Casa Palmero, and Post Ranch. And Aubergine, our pride at L'Auberge, is the only Forbes 5-star restaurant in Monterey County and the only Michelin star restaurant between Los Gatos and Los Angeles. We opened L'Auberge in August of '04 and are celebrating our 18th year in business. And L'Auberge Carmel is one of the most significantly historic buildings in Carmel, and we undertook a 2-year restoration process to polish this beautiful gem. I'm giving you some background on me so the commissioners and the public will know that the property's in good hands. My brother, architect Jeff Fink, was commissioned to do the restoration on L'Auberge, and has been also been conditioned to restore many of the Rudolph Schindler houses that are registered as Los Angeles city landmarks. I live in Carmel. I'm just about to move into a new place above Cantonette de Luca that Janet and I have been building for the last couple of years through COVID. It's been a challenge, but we're almost there. And of course, Cantonette de Luca is one of Carmel's most awarded authentic Italian restaurants. I'm a Virginian. My mother's family first settled there in 1621, and I grew up in an 1848 colonial revival home that my mom worked tirelessly restoring to have it placed on the National Register of Historic Homes. So I guess I really enjoy historic buildings because in 2023, we're opening Maison 1896 in Beaune, France, an ancient village that'll be a new Relais and Chateau, and that building was built in 1896. And I wish I could show you a picture because it's gonna be beautiful, but you can come and visit us there. I'm thrilled to be the new owner here, and I wanted to just chat a little bit about our vision for Carmel Beach and address some of the neighbors' concerns that I've read about. I do want to apologize to our neighbors because I'm very neighborly, and my team was not comfortable holding an in-person meeting with our neighbors, but I was hopeful to talk to many of them when I went out personally to pass out the flyers for the Planning Commission hearing. I did meet some of the neighbors, but I knocked on as many doors as I could. And so I'm sorry I didn't get to everyone, but I want to make myself available. And Marnie, I'm happy to put my cell phone up there if anybody wants to contact me. So I've had a long history here, and I'm pretty much a one-trick pony in hospitality because it's 45 years for me in hospitality. So, you know, here's our vision for Carmel Beach. Carmel has 42 hotels and approximately 1,041 rooms. Many of these hotels are frankly run down or in great need of renovation. We've always been owners that showed a lot of pride of ownership and constantly reinvest in our properties. Colonial Terrace has been in business since 1935, and over that time, operating eventually a 28-room inn, and at one time with a restaurant named Monk's Kitchen. It's always served breakfast, it's always served drinks, and always served a snack menu to its guests throughout its history. The food and beverage offerings have always been consumed either outside on the myriad patios or in the lobby or in the guest room. So we look at this as a wonderful opportunity to restore this gem with a new name, Carmel Beach Hotel and Spa, offering our clientele a new experience very close to Carmel Beach. And as good neighbors, we're going to do many things, I believe, to improve the neighborhood. Every morning I walk my Frenchie Remy on Carmel Beach. I love our beach. I'm keenly aware of the traffic issues on holidays and weekends, and Labor Day, frankly, was terrible for parking and access. I got down there at 7:30 every morning.
Excuse me, David.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you. However, I'm going to have to because we do have a time limit on presenters, and I know you have your architect there, and we're probably going to have some questions. So if you could wrap it up in a minute, I'd sure appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to give you our vision now. So we plan a multi-million-dollar renovation. 90% of it's an interior renovation. The rest is required by ADA code upgrades. Estonio Construction has a construction plan for noise and vehicles. Henry might be able to comment on that, and the construction will take place very quickly over 8 months. Currently, we've reduced the room count from 28 rooms to 26, so we'll have 2 less rooms, even though the hotel's been paying tax on 28 rooms for over 50 years, and that is not insignificant. The rooms will be elegant. They'll cater to our affluent clientele, just like L'Auberge, very well-mannered world travelers, not party animals. And just like L'Auberge, we'll have a very small, wonderful bar in the lobby that only serve guests who desire a glass of wine or a cocktail. And just like any hotel in Carmel, that guest can walk somewhere and sip that glass of wine on one of the patios or in their guest room, or we can deliver it to them in their room. And my chef partner, Justin Cogley, will create a room service snack menu that the guests can also have outside or in their room or on one of the patios. The existing wood-burning fireplace is very smoky. We plan to replace that with a wood-burning pizza oven that is very efficient and doesn't smoke at all. I have 16 years of experience with a wood-burning oven at Luca, and it only puts out a little bit of smoke when you light it and then no smoke at all. We're also creating more parking, so every guest will have a parking spot, which doesn't exist now. And our spa is tiny and it's only for the guests. There's only a few treatment rooms, and same for our workout room. And as far as the light pollution, we're gonna have curtains inside that we can close across those windows there. So I think we've demonstrated that we've been a great neighbor, a great business owner in Carmel, and we have a great track record of restoring historic buildings. So I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the commissioners, from the commissioners of Mr. Fink right now? I don't see any hands.
It looks like Commissioner Locke has her hand up.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Locke.
Thank you. Yeah, I have two questions, and actually I think I have two questions for him. You said that the hotel has always served drinks. And if that's the case, can you tell me what kind of a liquor license they currently hold?
I don't know what the current operator has, Stephanie.
Do you happen to know what the name of the current operator is?
I think Colonial Terrace Partners.
Okay, I couldn't find anything with Colonial. So yeah, I would like more information on that if you have any way to get that information.
Sure.
My second question was, you said something about how you were going to be developing a room service snack menu. Is that something that would be prepared on site, or would room service be driven down from another restaurant?
No, it'd be prepared on site. There's a small kitchen there now.
Okay. And I think those are my two questions for now. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other of the commissioners? I don't see anyone. I do have a question because it's a little confusion. This was presented to us with Esperanza as the owners, and but you are saying, are you now a part of Esperanza, David?
No, Gail. I own the business. Esperanza owns the land.
Do they own the land and the buildings?
They own the land and the buildings. Yes.
I see.
And I'm the tenant. I have a long-term lease, just like I do at Luca. So I'm the operator.
Okay, I understand that.
And I'm doing all the construction with Henry.
Okay. So Commissioner Locke.
Yeah, one other quick question. David, what hours are you proposing for the fitness room and the health spa?
Sure, spa 10 to 6, but the last treatment will be booked at 5. And, spas are daytime businesses. And fitness would be probably 6 a.m. if somebody's an early bird with the curtain closed, but it's going to be highly insulated with no audio, no loud music in there, till probably 8 at night, Stephanie.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Would the architect like to speak to this?
Sure. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yes, we do have a timer though, so if we could start the timer on this. I think we have 5 minutes on this, or 3 minutes, sorry.
Okay, well, I'll make it fast because I think that there's been a very thorough presentation done by staff, and David has added a lot of information that I think is going to respond to maybe some of the questions that the neighbors had. One thing I would just like to reinforce, it's been said a few times, is that most of the work that we're doing is inside the rooms. I was surprised when I first went inside a room at Colonial Terrace and saw the condition and of the interiors. The bathrooms are circa original construction with some minor upgrades, but for the most part, we're really trying to make the rooms nice. And there was discussion about the number of rooms. Originally, the use permit in 68 identified 26. However, when we came on site, we found 28. And there were actually 2 more rooms that were put in the areas where we're proposing the fitness room and the spa. So there's actually been a history of activity down there along San Antonio by people using room. And so we're not going to be having rooms there anymore. We're going to be having the spa, which has limited hours, in the fitness room, which has limited hours. We believe that there's going to actually be less activity. The end result is going to be a very high-end property. The quality of the facilities are going to be excellent. I think the room rates are going to go up. And I don't see this as really attracting crowds of, partiers during spring break or anything like that. This is a different type of property. And as you're well aware, David does an amazing job managing these types of properties. So I just don't see this as being an issue with the neighborhood. In fact, David made it a point from the very beginning when he talked to us about trying to solve some of the parking issues that the neighbors have been experiencing. So a lot of the things that we have been doing has been done in the backdrop of not only trying to improve the property, but also to make it palatable to the neighbors. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that haven't already been asked.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Are there any of the staff that have any questions of Henry right now? And I'm sorry, any of the commissioners? Okay, I think we're okay. Is there anyone else that needs to, that would like to speak to the public from the Colonial Inn project or the Carmel Beach Hotel and Spa?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think we're looking for public, general public comment now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So if anyone in the public would like to raise your hand, if you're on your Zoom platform on your computer at the bottom, you click on reactions, and there's a button that says raise hands. You can raise it there on your computer. If you're on your phone, *9 will let you raise your hand. And if you can't get to that, go ahead and just unmute yourself on the computer, bottom left-hand corner of the screen. There's a microphone. You can unmute yourself, or on your phone, *6 if you'd like to comment. And Madam Chair, as I was rambling there to try to create some space for people to raise their hand or unmute, I have not seen anyone unmute or raise their hand yet at the moment. So there may not be public comment, which seems a little bit odd given the letters we've seen, but perhaps those letters were just a comment. It looks like Rebecca has just unmuted herself. Rebecca, would you like to have a public comment?
Yes, so I just want to confirm, I'm a neighbor. I look out directly, I'm directly behind the Colonial Terrace. So is now the proper time to come in with a question or comment?
Yes, please. We'd love to have your comment now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So my home is one of the direct homes behind the Colonial Terrace at 5912 Carmelo. So my back deck looks directly out. We're probably the closest neighbor to actually the patio of the Colonial Terrace. So I provided my comments to the commission and to the members for all of you to review and to consider. So please note those for the public record. It's a 100-year-old facility in a very calm and quiet residential area. So I'm very concerned about the disruption to the neighborhood. The impact, I did read the plans pretty thoroughly and understand them. In particular, having a bar on site with alcohol, not aware of any provisioning of alcohol previously, So it was helpful to hear that one of the commissioners did ask a question about that, because I'm not aware of any alcohol being served and I'm not aware of any zoning for that. Obviously with children in our home, having any extra noise, having smoke come up from the back. Yes, we do experience smoke today, and I am concerned with another fire pit being put in, what that would cause, as well as just general noise of what a bar could create for the property. So it's an idyllic area. 100 years the Colonial Terrace has been in existence in a very kind of modest way. And this is very concerning to me as a neighbor who looks directly back onto the property. And my last comment is that we were only given notice less than 2 weeks ago when I got a flyer at my home. And I haven't been there has been no real engagement or collaboration, I think, with the neighborhood on this project to get input and buy-in. I hear that what I'm hearing is 90% of the interior, the focus is on interior, but there is a building that's getting constructed right along my back hedge terrace in my own back patio. So that obviously presents another concern, as well as the valet parking option. Wasn't clear as to how that's going to work in the plans and where those cars would go in terms of current parking spots, or if they would be taking up spots within the neighborhood. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would, from the public, that would like to speak at this time? I don't see anyone.
Madam Chair, I'm not seeing anyone. Just as a reminder, if anyone wants to, bottom left-hand corner of your screen can unmute, or *6 on your phone. It doesn't look like anyone else is unmuting or raising their hands at this moment. So, Madam Chair, you may want to just go back to the applicant and see if there's any response, and then take it back to the commission.
Yes. Is there any response to, is it Mrs. Busich?
Thank you. Yes, you got it.
Yeah, okay. Is there any response from the architect or Mr. Fink to the neighbor's comments?
I'd love to say a few things, Madam Chair. Rebecca, I'm sorry I haven't met you, but I've been here for 30 years and I'm a good neighbor, and I'd be happy to meet with you and walk you through the plans and show you what we're going to do. I think we're going to eliminate the smoke issue that's been there before. The parking is getting better. The valet parking is going to be on the San Antonio side, where there's existing paved parking right now. That's becoming just a little bit bigger, and that's going to be our valet lot. So every guest is going to have a parking spot, which didn't happen before. And so I think that's a real plus. The fire pits that are proposed in the plan are gas, so there'll be no smoke coming off of those. They're not wood. And as far as the concern with wine or a cocktail, there has been history at the property of serving wine and cocktails. It hasn't been consistent, but it has happened over the last 90 years, 86 years, since 1935. And I just want to tell you that we are very good neighbors. L'Auberge Carmel is surrounded by neighbors, and everybody seems to love us there. And again, I'm happy to meet with you and your husband and talk about any concerns you have.
Thank you, Mr. Fink. I think if we don't have anyone else from the public, let's turn it over to the commission for comment. And
Madam Chair, if we could just request before the commission takes it back, could we have an opportunity for staff to comment? I think, yes. I think Ms. Waffle has a couple of comments she'd like to add.
Thank you, Marnie.
Thank you. So I did want to mention a couple things. I didn't in my presentation, I didn't mention that there is a new pergola proposed. I believe that's what the neighbor was referring to. So just wanted to mention that the applicant is proposing to cover one of the existing patios behind building, I believe it's F. E or F, with a pergola, also install a deck as well. And both of those features are adjacent to the neighbor. Also, just wanted to make sure that I clarified that the fireplace, the wood burning fireplace that is currently there at that patio has been designated part of the historic landscape, and so it must be preserved. However, the commission certainly can talk about, converting that wood burning fireplace to a gas appliance if that's their desire. And then the last clarification is that there are 2 new fire pits proposed as part of the project, and the architect did clarify that both of those fire pits are proposed to be gas appliances. So thank you for the opportunity just to provide those clarifications.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'd like to, sorry, I'm doing an alternate timer here. I'd like to turn it back to the commission now, or turn it over to the commission. And who would like to start? Mr. Dells, I know you'd like to get moving, so.
Commissioner or Chairman Lehman, I would actually prefer to go last, and I'm okay on time. I mean, let's give it the time it needs.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Locke.
I'll start.
Thank you.
First of all, I think there are a lot of really positive parts of this project. And just some of those things that I'm seeing, the design will bring about more consistency throughout the project. And speaking with the architect today, there was discussion about the colors, and I know that they're going to look back and try to recreate more of what the original coloring might have been. So I think that's really good. The accessibility is most definitely needed. That property right now is just not accessible as far as ADA goes. The residential lighting standard, I think, is probably the biggest thing that is going to be a benefit to the entire neighborhood. And that is that they will have to meet the residential design guidelines, which will completely lower the amount of light pollution that you have coming out of that commercial business. So I think there are some very, very positive things. The plant selections that were provided to us are beautiful. It was mentioned earlier that they will be converting the existing landscape to a water efficient landscape, which clearly will save them a ton of money, and but it will also help us as a community. And I'm excited about that. The artificial turf that they've selected, I personally had that turf installed at another home I lived in, and it's gorgeous. And so I think it will be something that will be positive there. I don't see that there will be a change to noise and traffic. The capacity is not changing, so they're not changing the number of rooms. And Mr. Fink, I know you said 28 rooms were there, but I believe your use permit's for 26, and that's the information that I've had in our files forever. So you're not really reducing the number of rooms, but you're not increasing the number of rooms. I do want to see that and I'm just assuming I checked with the manager, whoever was on site today, that all of the rooms' fireplaces are gas, and that the new fire pits are gas. And I would like to see the existing fireplace converted to gas. So that, in other words, let's basically get rid of the smoke, especially for the neighbor. Rebecca, I know you are right there. So, and I think that if that existing fireplace is converted, I think that's a real plus for your close home. So that's kind of nice. The pergola plans, we didn't really see plans for that. So I know we went through a process when the Pocket wanted to put a pergola above. I'd like to see what the proposal is on that. Is it fully covered? Does it have louvers? What is the proposed plan on that one? And then as far as things that I consider kind of cons on this one, I don't necessarily like the concept of a metal privacy screen around the fire pit that's on the corner of San Antonio and 13th. I think I'd like to see what that would look like, but I think maybe we can look at more natural, some kind of a natural covering that would not be metal. I do want to mention that there is currently outdoor seating in that corner area that is proposed to be another fire pit. So I don't see the fire pits becoming any kind of an issue in the neighborhood. I think that they fit in. Everybody, I mean, many people have fire pits now. They're putting fire pits in all over the place. And they're gas, they're not burning smoke, so they're not necessarily bothering the neighborhood. I do want to see a condition that would limit the hours of operation and for both the, and I'm going to just say, I think the three words gym, spa, and bar were poorly chosen words to use in this because that's really not what's happening. But I'd like to see the hours for the fitness room and the health spa called out in the conditions. And just on that note, I do want to also note that, yes, I agree that Mr. Fink has provided some information, but in my review of everything, you know, this property currently provides breakfast. They currently provide cookies and beverages, coffee, tea, water, whatnot throughout the day in their lobby area. So the addition of wine, beer, or a cocktail really doesn't change the capacity. I think the big concern I have is the liquor license. And I would like to see whatever we do conditioned on a type 70 liquor license, which is on sale general restrictive service. And that authorizes them to provide either beer, wine, or other distilled spirits for consumption on the premises to their guests or their invitees. And that would essentially restrict it so that you couldn't walk in off the street and use, you know, and participate in anything that was going on. I have a question about, we have future landscape lighting called out on the plans, and I'm not sure that we are going to be approving future landscape lighting or if that's necessary. And then I think, you know, this whole thing with the pizza oven is, again, this goes to the jargon that was used in the application. I think what you're actually looking at doing is putting in an outdoor kitchen area for the guests. And again, this goes to my question earlier about barbecues. There is a barbecue that is shown on the floor plan or on the landscape plan. So you've got a built-in area that you've got a barbecue and you've got a pizza oven. In my just looking at stuff, this is an outdoor kitchen barbecue area. I don't think it's not going to create additional capacity or additional use that would occur that would not take place I don't think it's going to cause any major changes. And finally, the extended deck area. And this goes again to Rebecca's concerns. The extended deck area does go out into an area right now that's a landscaped area. And it also is very close to the bedroom windows of a couple of rooms. That is not my concern. It's more the impact on the neighbors who apparently the setback is extremely tight and it's like 3 feet or something from the property line. And so I'd like to see that reconsidered and whether or not they really need to extend the deck. There's a lot of places on the property that you can sit and enjoy, you know, the ocean views and whatnot. So anyway, I think that is really all I had to say.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Mr. Commissioner Bolton.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can really improve on that. That was excellent, Stephanie. Thank you. I also want to say thank you to the staff and the HRB and the Forest and Beach Commission. All of that work is excellent, and I definitely want to see all of that come forward and be implemented just as it already is in our special conditions. I'm just going to hit a couple highlights. Number one, I don't like this extension deck thing either. I think it's kind of intrusive on the neighbors, and I don't know that it's necessary. The lighting concerns me somewhat. Residential design standards must be upheld, and so as long as staff stays on top of it, it shouldn't be a big deal. The string lighting has to be 100% invisible from the street. Otherwise, I don't see how that's going to comply with any of our standards for residential, I would say. And I don't know that I really like the idea of, more string lighting in general. I think we need to develop some kind of standard, but that's a different discussion. Beyond that, I don't think there's a huge or any intensification of use really. And I agree with Stephanie's phrasing that I think some of the labeling on some of the plans was maybe too strong or improper or whatever. It made neighbors become more concerned than perhaps they need to be, I hope. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like we have a fairly good operator who should be able to maintain the quiet standards of this neighborhood. So, and I don't think any issue with parking or traffic is going to be increased. I think the use of the valet is a positive. Use of that area is going to be good for the neighborhood. There won't be as much trying to park any people on the street just who are attending the hotel. I do have concerns about the liquor license because I think it needs one. I don't know very much about liquor licenses, so I'm not going to say much more about it than that. But if there hasn't been one, I'm surprised. And that's really basically it. I think the staff and everybody has done a very nice job. Stephanie, I concur with everything she said. So I think I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dowds.
Thank you. Now you see why I wanted to go last. To my colleagues, thanks very much. I spent the day driving across the Colorado Rockies with a 9-month-old teething baby, so I'm a little frazzled today. And I did not benefit from the site tour today, but I have looked at all the rest of the materials. I think this is a great project, and I walk by it every day, and have always admired the location and the setting, and to know that it's going to get some new love and some new life is really wonderful. And thank you to the applicant for bringing the time and energy and money to do that. I think our community needs it, and I think it, as my colleagues have said, I don't feel there's any detriment to the neighborhood from this project, and probably advances. As long as we continue to respect the neighbors, and I think my colleagues have weighed in on a couple areas where we need to do that. So I'm prepared to support it with the conditions that I think someone else will make a motion to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Dowds. I'm primarily disturbed because of the response we got from the neighbors that the architects, and they're an old architectural firm that's very aware of Carmel, and what we asked for is that they did not have any meetings with the neighbors prior to drawing the plans. Just to sit down with them, which certainly could have been outside en masse in this kind of crazy time that we're in. But there could have been meetings, and it is an easy way to do it because the city is glad to contact them by email and ask them to contact you if necessary, to avoid all the unhappy letters and the bad feelings that's been coming from the neighbors. And I think it's a big mistake, and I think it needs to be done as soon as possible. I think it's a great project. I think it's certainly a place that needs refurbishment. I agree with Commissioner Locke that there was some mislabeling of these things. That the supposed gym is not a gym of any merit. It's got about 6 machines in it. And, it'll probably honestly accommodate 1 or 2 guests at a time. It's certainly not a gym that anyone from the public is going to be lining up to use or to join. I don't think that's what the idea of it is. I think the bar is, I think it's pretty typical to have cocktail hours in lots of hotels and inns. And so this is not a detriment. I think the fireplace definitely needs to be converted to gas. We should not have any wood burning fireplaces outside. I think we've already seen the results of that, and we know how bad the particles are for everyone's lungs. So we certainly don't want to add to that at this point. I am concerned about the lack of a liquor license, and if this is going to become a full-time restaurant where it's more than just breakfast, which is typically served in so many places, then I think you need to get a food and beverage license as well. And I think Mr. Fink, it's wonderful that they have him because he's a sophisticated restaurateur, and he can get all these things accomplished. But mostly, I think the architectural firm needs to meet with the neighbors. And I think we've got 4 or 5 neighbors involved that have expressed real unhappiness with this project. And I think it's really a good idea to be neighborly, whether you're an individual or a business, because that's what Carmel is about. We never used to lock our doors. It's a different world right now, but I think this is a place that where it's easy to be nice to people. And I think we're setting this up to do a lot of work. I think we need more detail in the drawings. Commissioner Locke mentioned it, that we haven't really seen anything about the pergola. We need to reevaluate whether that deck should really be raised rather than drop below the patio, because as it's raised, I think it really does impact the windows of that hotel room. And that's about what I have. My inclination, and it's just mine because there are 4 of us today, is that I would vote to continue it, so that we give this month time for them to meet with the neighbors and to address all these other items. So I want to thank Marnie, because as I said at the beginning of this, that it's a huge job to work on something with this kind of renovation. It would almost be easier if it was just an empty lot and someone was putting a new building on it. But it isn't. And so it's a complicated place with a lot of buildings. And I think it's a masterful job. Thank you, Marnie. But that's where I am. So I'd entertain any motion, or if there's, yes, Ms. Locke.
I have a question for Brandon. Brandon, if we wanted to review the pergola design, is that something that we could do if we were to move forward on the approval of the use permit and whatnot tonight?
Yeah, so you could do a couple things. You could approve the use permit. You can approve everything, and you could essentially take out the pergola component of the project and make the comeback as a separate design approval just for the pergola. That would be one option. You can do as Commissioner Lehman suggested. You can lay out all of the suggested changes or additional information, or tell staff conditions of approval you'd like to see added. Continue the item and we come back in a month. You can add all the conditions on right now. We can take copious notes and you can make a decision tonight on it. Just condition it all tonight. So the commission does have several options.
So now I leave it up to the three of you to come forward with something good.
All right, I'll throw something out there and see if it sticks.
Okay, good.
Okay. I actually would move approval of DS 21-170 and the use permit 21-171 for the Carmel Beach Hotel and Spa. With the pergola plan pulled out and brought back to the commission for design approval, and with the addition of conditions, which I'm not sure, I didn't see, and I might have just missed this, that the use permits restricted to 26 rooms, that the applicant must obtain a type 70 ABC liquor license, that all gas fires throughout the property or all fires throughout the property are gas, that the health spa hours of operation are restricted to 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., that the fitness room hours are restricted to 6 a.m. from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., and that we have some way of lights out at that time, basically. That the and I'm not sure if this is appropriate or not, but I would recommend no extension of the deck area. And that the metal privacy screen have further review also when we come back with the other design review on the pergola.
That's great. Do I hear a second?
Sure, I can second that. That's great.
Just if we get some clarification. One of the conditions was all fires would be gas. Does that include the pizza oven as well?
If it's exterior, I think it.
Commissioner Locke, in your motion, is that?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Brandon, may I comment, or is it?
I'll leave that up to the chair if she'd like to.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing what David says.
Yes, it's okay, David.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A Italian wood-burning pizza oven, which many of our neighbors own, burns at 850 degrees. And there is a little smoke in the beginning, absolutely. But after that, there is absolutely no smoke at all. So it is, and as soon as you tamp it down, it goes to sleep at night. So it's very clean, it's very environmental, it's very efficient. Thank you very much. And I'm sure Chef would consider putting it in the little kitchen inside too. So if we need to do that, I'm sure we can.
So I would say the outdoor kitchen, or the outdoor kitchen with the pizza. And again, this goes to Rebecca and your concerns, but I think the location of the proposed pizza oven is it's quite a distance from your property on this one. So I don't have a problem. I actually have a wood burning pizza oven. So he's correct. It does burn at 800 plus degrees. So I am okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see it going in and having a restaurant starting up inside though.
I can still second with those amendments or clarifications.
Okay. May I add one more item, Commissioner Locke, to your motion? I noticed that the light fixtures, 3 of them that were proposed, don't meet our design guidelines for downward facing light. They were glass sides, and I think there were 3 different ones that are. So as far as I'm concerned, they don't meet Title 24, and so I would like those changed to downward facing fixtures.
Yeah, and I think that is included as special condition 37. Marnie, is that correct?
Yes, staff has included the standard lighting conditions in the project. There's no reference, just for clarification, there's no reference to Title 24 in our standard conditions. So we will apply the residential design guideline standards to all the light fixtures.
Okay, fine. I think that on their sheet, they were, as I recall the photograph,
Yeah, they did have glass on the sides. Yes.
Yeah, there are 3 different ones. There's a lantern on a post, and there's another one that's a wall lantern type that's kind of metal with some glass, where all the light would radiate from the sides as well as the bottom. So, and that's what we're trying to get away from. So I would like that, because there'll be several of them. So that would cut down the lighting additionally on that.
Yeah, I think, Madam Chair, I think if you're okay with it, we have the condition on there, as Ms. Waffle pointed out, that we'll hold them to the residential lighting standards.
Right.
We wouldn't be signing off on building permits until those were changed anyway.
Okay. Do we do have a second from Commissioner Bolton. Can we have a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Bolton?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair Lehman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Would anyone like a break for 5 or 10 minutes?
Hey, Chairwoman, I will be dropping off now, but thanks for your patience.
Thank you. And enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 5:48 right now. How about we take 12 minutes until 6 o'clock?
Okay.
Okay. Great. So I see we have everyone here that's going to be here. I'd like to reopen the Planning Commission meeting of September 8th. And do we need a roll call?
Yeah. Madam Chair, yes, we should do that.
Okay, Commissioner Bolton,
Present.
Commissioner Locke,
Here.
Commissioner Delves,
Commissioner Delves has exited.
thank you, and Chair Lehman.
Yes. So we'd like to resume the public hearings with DS 21-032 Fonte, consideration of a design study and associated coastal development permit for the construction of a 40-foot long reinforced concrete retaining wall to replace a failing Carmel stone and mortar wall located at the northwest corner of 2nd Avenue and Casanova Street in the single-family residential district, the archaeological overlay, park overlay, and beach and riparian overlay districts, APN 010-233-007. And can we have a staff report, please?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Marty Waffles prepared to make a staff report. Just quickly, I want to make a procedural announcement. So typically, as we experienced in the last item, we needed 4 commissioners to make a decision on a use permit. This is not a use permit, so we only need 3 commissioners. Typically, Commissioner Bolton would have been recused from this item given his proximity. However, our rules of procedure also make the allowance for when recusal of a member would taking away a quorum does allow for that member to participate. So we just have to make it known that the member is close to the site. They would normally recuse. However, given the fact if that recusal took place, we would no longer have a quorum and the item would not be able to be heard. We are allowed to have that member hear the item. So that was a lot of words, but long story short, we've still got 3 commissioners on board and we're good to go. So Marnie, fire away.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. The project before you is a design study for a retaining wall in the single-family residential zoning district. The project is located at the intersection of 2nd Avenue and North Casanova Street. The parcel is 12,699 square feet in size, so fairly large. There's an existing 3,000 square foot single family dwelling on the property. The property is adjacent to Pescadero Canyon as well as Pescadero Creek. The property also is located within a number of overlay districts, which each one has certain requirements that need to be met, all of which the project has addressed. So just starting by way of a little bit of background, in February and March of 2020, it was a particularly stormy winter season. A couple trees fell onto the applicant's property, Mr. and Mrs. Fonte. These tree failures resulted in some damage to existing walls on the property. It caused also, the heavy rains caused a significant amount of erosion of the hillside, which caused a portion of their lower patio also to fail. So Mr. and Mrs. Fonte hired a team of engineers to design a retaining wall that would stabilize the hillside, prevent further erosion, and then also provide some additional support for their lower patio. The photographs that you see here on the screen are sort of the aftermath of the winter season and the Fonte's attempts to manage the erosion of the hillside while this project goes through the city's process. So the photos that are shown here on this slide are an attempt by the city to kind of bolster the drainage channel in the area that resulted in the overflow of water onto Mr. Fonte's property. So this clearly has been an issue, and this retaining wall is a practical solution to help address it. So the graphic on the left shows how steep the topography is just on the other side of the applicant's patio. It identifies the section that was undermined at the patio, as well as where the landslide areas occur. You can see it's a very steep slope area. These graphics here were developed by the geotechnical engineer in evaluating the Fonte's property in order to make recommendations for a retaining wall. So the proposed retaining wall would be approximately 40 feet long on this north side of the Fonte's property. The wall would consist of approximately 13 feet of a retaining wall. Only the top 6 feet would be above grade. So there would be backfill of the slope. Only 6 feet of the wall would be exposed, but the wall itself would be retaining upwards of 13 feet of the hillside. Below the wall, the engineer has designed caissons to provide additional lateral support. And these are 13.5 to 15 feet tall themselves. So the project will require some, substantial excavation in that they need to dig down pretty deep in order to install these improvements. All of the work will be done by hand, so there won't be any heavy equipment or machinery involved. So it's quite an endeavor to dig down that deep and install these improvements in order to stabilize the hillside. So these photos were taken after the wall was identified with flags in order to determine how visible, or if at all visible, from the public way. So this is approaching the property from Casanova down, or from 2nd Avenue, going south. And as you can see, there's heavy vegetation. You will not be able to see this wall anywhere from the public way. So with that, staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving a design study and coastal development permit for the retaining wall. And I am available to answer any questions.
Gail, you're muted.
Are there any questions of staff right now? And thank you, Marnie.
No, thanks.
I don't have any questions either. I think we've all seen the damage to the house, and it's really scary. Is there anyone would like to speak for the applicant? I don't see any hands.
Don't see anyone, Madam Chair, I don't see anyone raising their hand. Is the applicant on? I do see an iPad 6. There we go. They've just unmuted themselves.
Yeah, this is Sam, and I want, first of all, I'd like to thank the staff, Brandon, Marnie, and Margie, for the excellent report. And yeah, all we need is want this fixed because we are so scared about the coming rain, this coming winter. And hopefully the design made by Kyler Engineering will fix this. So it is actually replacing an old Carmel stone and mortar wall that, and it will be approximately in the same location as it is. So that's all I can say.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fonte. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? If so, I think we could close the public hearing and open it up to the commissioners. Commissioner Locke, do you have any questions on this?
I do not. I think that this is desperately needed, and the engineering looks like it will hopefully keep this home safe, and the homes up the hill for that matter, because you could lose the whole hillside. So no, it's definitely a needed project.
Right. Thank you. Commissioner Bolton?
Yeah, this seems necessary to stabilize this property. Otherwise, I'm afraid the house might not make it. It seems like a lot of excavation, and it's not going to be a lot of fun to do, but I don't have to do it. So anyway, I think it's necessary, and I support the project.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same way. Thank you, Marnie, for the thorough report. And I'm sorry that the people have to go through this. It's kind of a tough place to have a house right on the edge of Pescadero Canyon. So I just need a motion for approval, or a motion.
I'll move. I'll move approval of DS 21-032, consideration of the design study and associated coastal development permit for the construction of a 40-foot long reinforced concrete retaining wall to replace a failing Carmel stone and mortar wall located at the northwest corner of 2nd and Casanova. And I think that we would approve the resolution as proposed in the packet.
Okay, and are there any special conditions with this? I don't think so.
It was pretty straightforward.
Yes, yeah, I don't think there are any special conditions. The drawings are pretty clear as to what needs to be done.
There were two special conditions, so including those two special conditions, which are if human remains are discovered, you must stop and consult with an archaeologist, and that they also plan for the erosion control and restoration plan prepared by Rana Creek that was dated June 25th, 2021 for erosion control and restoration.
Right, and I think they've already had an archaeology report, as I understand it. So that's already been done. So
with the special conditions, yes.
Yeah, and can I get a second, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Bolton.
Yes.
Commissioner Locke.
Yes.
Chair Lehman.
Yes. Okay. Next item on our hearings are number 7, the review of the draft ordinance amending chapter 17-40 of the Carmel Municipal Code related to signs and recommendation to the City Council regarding adoption. And as I understand this, we just, after discussion, we just need to vote to recommend this to the City Council. We're not approving anything.
That's correct, Chair Lehman. So I have a short PowerPoint, very short, and I'll sort of walk through what it is we're asking the commission to do tonight.
Thank you.
With your allowance, I'll go ahead with a presentation.
Please, thank you.
Okay, give me just 1 second while I get it up on my screen here. All right. So good evening, Commission. We are here seeking recommendation to the City Council on an ordinance amending Carmel Municipal Code, Chapter 17.40, which regulates signs in the city. Just a quick overview. Our current sign ordinance is relatively out of date. And the reason for that is there have been some major cases over previous years regarding constitutionality of regulating content. So currently our ordinance has language in there that our city attorney's office felt was potentially unconstitutional and by regulating content in certain districts. So we've drafted a revision in partnership with the city attorney's office, bring that to ultimately to the city council, but starting with the planning commission, because this is a land use matter. It requires planning commission to review and recommend to the city council. Anything that falls under the zoning title follows that course. The council has several options tonight. You were presented with both a red line and a clean version of the ordinance. The council can the commission can recommend adoption by the city council as is. The commission can recommend to not adopt. So that is a recommendation that staff can take forward to the city council. The commission can provide edits to staff and recommend adoption with those edits incorporated, and that would be taken forward to the city council as the recommendation of the commission with your edits shown alongside staff's recommended edits. Or the city or the commission could provide edits and continue the ordinance to the next planning commission hearing so that you got to see those edits incorporated into the ordinance. So those are the options we have before you tonight. Quick summary of the changes, and this was in the staff report. Streamline the administrative approval process. There was too much discretion over content, according to our city attorney. Essentially, signs become an administrative function done by the director or their designee. However, the PC retains the appeal authority under that. So if a sign decision was appealed, it would go to the planning commission. Revision of a term from business signs to commercial signs. Because businesses have to be allowed to have non-commercial messages as well. It doesn't have to only relate to a business. Permit exemption for a set number of temporary signs in residential districts, 1 per street frontage. So we are allowed to regulate that. However, during election periods, there's no limitation. That's another constitutionality thing. Basically what this does is it fixes the existing and certainly unintended prohibition on political signs because they were capped previously. More summary, it's a removal of all content-based sign regulations. Essentially, we went through with our city attorney and took out anything where it could be construed as regulating content. This is in response to one of the better-known cases that went to the Supreme Court, Reed versus Town of Gilbert decision. We've added express prohibitions for certain types of signs in the districts, the ones that we can prohibit. It's again not based on content, it's based on style of signs. So we've added prohibitions for things like flashing lights, noise making, inflatable signs, and things like that that are not consistent with the design characteristics of the city, just not content based. We have also through this expanded the authority for the city to remove abandoned commercial signs, and that cost can be passed along to the property owner. So those last two bullets are not, while they're not necessarily related to the potential constitutionality issues, we did take the opportunity to add a couple of cleanup items in those last two bullets there. So the next steps, as I mentioned, this requires a city council adoption because it is an ordinance. That would be through 2 readings. There'd be a first reading and then a second reading for adoption. The city council will get that at the first reading, and if they make substantive changes to the ordinance as presented to them, it would need to go through another first reading. So it essentially has to have 2 readings of the same ordinance at the city council before it be adoption. It would then be effective 30 days after adoption. That's how ordinances work. The Planning Commission must make a recommendation because it falls under Title 17. As I mentioned earlier, you have different options. You can recommend as is. You can recommend to not adopt. You can provide edits and then recommend adoption based on those edits, or you can provide edits and continue it to the next hearing before making that recommendation. So I buzzed through that really quickly. Hopefully everyone had a chance to go through the red lines. As I mentioned, this is really just a matter of cleaning up our ordinance to make sure that we're not afoul of any constitutional law. And so with that, staff is available for any questions.
Commissioners, does anyone have any questions? I have one, and maybe I'm missing something, or maybe it's been grouped together. But I noticed in the real estate signs there was a whole section that was redlined, both for real estate signs in the residential district, which I would assume are for sale, homes, and also for contractor signs. And that was all red line. Now, does that go into the temporary sign permission?
Yeah, so it was, and this was part of the cleanup, is that we had, you had all these regulations that were really specific about different things all over the place, rather than just taking it and making it about a sign in the residential district. So that's, you're absolutely correct, Madam Chair. That's what we did.
Okay, all right. Can I get if there's any discussion, can I get a motion, please?
Yeah,
Well, Madam Chair, sorry, we can certainly have questions from the commission, but we should go out to the public before we get any motions.
Oh, sorry.
But if the commission has any questions of staff before we open it to the public, I'd certainly be happy to answer them.
Is there anyone in the public that would like to address this?
Again, anyone who wants to address this item, you can unmute yourself on the Zoom platform by clicking on the mute button, bottom left-hand corner. Looks like we have no cell phones. I'm sure that people are chomping at the bit to have a rousing conversation about the exciting sign ordinance, but it looks like, Madam Chair, we have nobody raising their hand.
Okay, let's take it back to the commission. And is there anyone that would like to make a motion? Go, Chris, go.
I don't really have a specific comment about this one. It just seems like there's a whole lot of extraneous language in the old ordinance. I think this is an improvement. Plus, even reading the old ordinance, it missed things to my mind since it was being hyper specific. So I think this is better and more comprehensive. So anyway, to that end, I'll move that we approve the draft ordinance and send it to the city council for approval.
I'll second.
Sorry, Madam Chair, if I could, Commissioner Bolton, the motion we're looking for this evening is actually a recommendation to the city council. So the motion would be framed something more like you would move that the planning commission recommend the city council adopt the ordinance as is.
There you go. Okay, so I move in that case that the city council, that the planning commission recommended the city council that the ordinance be approved as is.
Second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bolton?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair Lehman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Our next, the next item is on our agenda is the item number 4, consideration of an amendment to the Planning Commission adopted rules of procedure related to the tour of inspection.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm going to put this up on the screen. So I do not have a PowerPoint for you this evening. I included a red line and a clean version of this as well. What I will do is I will put the red line version up on the screen and really just leave it up to the commission. I can edit it in real time if the commission would like any language massaged in what staff is presenting. But long story short, we recently received direction from the commission to come back with an item to modify this tour of inspection language to, we've been having more full agendas. We've been doing a lot of really great work in a continuing ongoing effort to try to streamline that process, not going back out for tours on items that the commission has already seen. Use permits sometimes don't need a visit. So that was the genesis of this. The commission asked for something. So I've prepared some language for you. I'm going to put it up on the screen and then I'll turn it back over to the commission for any comments or edits that you'd like to see.
Thank you.
It is up on the screen, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Are you looking for comments?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. Yes, no, that's exactly where we're at. Is I was just turning it back over to the commission to see if there was any comments based on your reading of it, if there was any language you wanted changed, deleted, added, anything like that, or if you're happy with it as is.
Commissioner Locke, do you have anything?
I don't have any comments. I think it's fine.
Commissioner Bolton?
Yeah, I don't really have anything I'd like to change. I think it's nice just to give a little bit more flexibility. So I think it's useful to do this.
Right. I just had one small thing, Director. In the site visits, I think we need to add if any commissioner or applicant feels that there is a need to visit, they will be accommodated. Often we have neighbors that want us to visit, and or one of the five of us might have some information that wasn't readily apparent in a project. You know, it could be because it's something we're going to be recused from, and because of proximity or some knowledge. So I'd like not to eliminate, or I'd like to include the ability of any of the commissioners adding something if necessary.
Yeah, that makes good sense, Madam Chair. Would you propose, it needs to have some sort of timing associated with it. So would you propose that this would be, 48 hours before the meeting or 24 hours before the meeting? When would you propose that it would be added to the tour of inspection? Because our agenda goes out to the public prior to the meeting, obviously, and the tour of inspection is included as part of that agenda.
Right.
So we would want to be able to make sure that the entire public was made aware that there was something being added to the agenda.
Well, I think I'd like to make it 24 hours. The reason being is we don't get our agenda until Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of times it used to be Friday afternoon when they were printing the plans and assembling our books. So, and I don't know if we'll have that again.
Really?
But if we have it as 24 hours, it means we would have it on Monday. So it could be included in the Wednesday. Well, that would be 48 hours, assuming that we get to look at these things over the weekend. So, yes, Commissioner Locke.
Is there any kind of a Brown Act requirement on agendas that you need to consider on this?
That's a very good question.
I think it's 72 hours.
It is 72 hours for the agenda. I'm just wondering, I'm thinking, I mean, we could just to be safe put 72 hours in there, or I can look into it because I'm not sure, since the tour of inspection is not a decision-making part of the meeting. That may not apply, but I don't want to tell you one way or the other in this moment because I'm not.
So we really need to have that looked into.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Thank you.
So I can, this is great feedback, actually. I can, so we certainly don't have to have these approved tonight. So what I can do, that is up to you guys. These are your rules. These are the commission's rules. So between the three of you tonight, you tell me what you'd like to do. I just prepared these for you to start from. It sounds like we can do two things. We can either add 72 hours into this, and that would be the notification, just be done with it. Or if you like, I can look into it and see if it could be 24 or 48 hours, because I definitely take Commissioner Lehman's point that, adding the tour of inspection, if either the commission or a member of the public has requested it, it is a nice feature. I would suggest that it would be just the commission that can add a site tour stop. This would be certainly a member of the public could reach out to one of the commissioners through staff, and then commission could decide that they want to have it on their tour. I don't know if I would recommend having it be the public adding a site. Not because the public shouldn't have access to it, but that's just not how it was before. I think there was some thought and some wisdom put into that,
Right.
having it be at the direction of one of the commissioners.
Okay, Commissioner Locke?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. I think we should probably just continue this. Brandon, find out about the Brown Act requirements. I would like to see that if we can shorten the time, restrict it just to commissioners. And yes, we can certainly have somebody reach out to us and if they have a need, and you know, we can communicate for them. I would hate to see us just suddenly adding things because the public wants to go back to the site. So after we've seen it before. So.
That probably opens up, number one, it takes some of the burden off of you, Director Swanson, because if someone gets to the meeting and says, well, no one ever visited our house, so that opens it up, and it does open up something else as far as having people contact us. We do need to get Carmel-by-the-Sea emails.
Okay, we can certainly work on that. Yeah, I know we'd had a conversation about that actually when I first got here, and I think that we weren't sure if we wanted to do that, but we can absolutely do that. And I do personally think that's a very good idea.
Rather than our personal emails.
Yes.
Right.
I can have those set up this week actually, and then we can put those on the website. Because I think that's a pretty standard practice actually with planning commissioners. Even though you're volunteers, essentially, you typically do find emails of the planning commissioners, but it's a city email address, not your personal ones.
Exactly. Yes. Okay.
And if you have, just so you know, I mean, since we're talking about this, if you have a personal email address, that's the only one you check. You can go to your city email address and have it automatically forward to your personal email. So you're not having to check 3 different accounts.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent. So do we need a motion to continue this then?
This isn't a public hearing. You're not adopting a resolution or anything. It sounds like we have consensus that we want to come back. I think I took notes here and I have clear direction from the 3 of you. Unless there's any additional, we'll come back with some way for the Planning Commission to essentially call up a site visit, whether it's 24, 48, 72. That's to be determined. I will do some research on Brown Act and see how that impacts the agenda, but we'll bring this back at the next hearing for you to approve.
Well, that's excellent. I think we're ready for the director's report.
Right. Well, I will keep it short. I don't have a lot for you. Let me just quit my screen share. Just a couple quick notes. I'm very excited. I am conducting final interviews this week for filling our assistant planner position. Hopefully be making an offer first part of next week and get somebody in-house very soon. It's taken a little bit longer than originally thought, but that's okay. I think it's going to end up with us getting the right person for the job. So I'm very excited about that. I think that's all I have for you this evening. It's been a long meeting. You guys got a lot of good work done tonight. So, with that, I think I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair, for adjournment if that's where you'd like to go next.
Oh, that's fine, unless anyone has anything else. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Brandon, for helping me so much.
You did a great job. See everyone next time.